Jasmine, yeah, okay, you can start now.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
You can hear me, yeah? Everything's all right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so first of all, sort of good morning from the UK and good evening your time. Thank you very much for joining the presentation today. So the topic we are sort of working on today is how you can help yourself or your students, your children in strategizing the university application post-COVID. So the key topic here is riding the wave. I was just saying to one of my students last night that we are now seeing the side effect of the domino effect of the pandemic. And why I say domino, because this has been happening for the last 3 years, and each year there is always certain side effects that students are having to face, in particular international students, when it comes to applying to competitive courses at top universities. So just as an introduction, so in terms of OIC, we are #1 in the UK in terms of A-level results. 2019 was the last year when grades were awarded based on standardized external examination. In 2019, we were the only school that had above 90% A-star to A grades. I'm also the founder of Cardiff Sixth Form College, so it's great.
Hello.
That
yeah, so well, Vivian, maybe you have to open your camera so we can see the bigger screen. Okay. Okay, so you can start. Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, fantastic. So in terms of Oxford International College, we are ranked #1 in the UK in terms of A-level results. 2019 was the last year when grades were awarded based on standardized external examinations, and we were the only school that had above 90% A-star to A grades. I'm also the founder of Cardiff Sixth Form College, so it's great that in my sort of journey so far, it's like almost 20 years. I'm the founder of 2 top schools, or I'm leading one, and I founded another one. And OIC, ever since I've joined OIC, it's maintained #1 position. And last year, the only league table that had that were produced, because there were no exams the last 2 years due to the pandemic. So the only league table that was produced was by the education advisors, and we top the league table in that as well. So it's fantastic that not only we had the top results at the time when there were external examinations, we also topped the league table when they were the teacher assessed grades. And of course, now we're moving back to formal exams, and hopefully that will come to some normalcy in terms of how, in terms of the league tables and results and so on. So I'm going to move on to, so that's the college. And just to give you a little bit of introduction about myself. So I came to the UK as an international student, my background is I teach chemistry and biology, but I also consider myself as an academic strategist. So what that means is helping students with both their academic and career planning. And the key thing here is the career aspect, which I'll talk a little bit more in detail later on. As I said, I'm the Chief Education Officer at OIC since 2017. I'm the founder of Cardiff Sixth Form College, and it was #1 for 9 consecutive years between 2010 to 2018. So Cardiff Sixth Form College was set up in 2008, and it topped the league table in just 2 years. And then in 2019 and 2017, I came to OIC, and then it topped the league table in 2019. And since then, we've been #1. And as I said, I'm very much consider myself as an academic strategist, and for that reason, I do a lot of work with universities, and I sit as a interview panelist at some of the medical schools in the UK, and I also work very closely with top universities worldwide. I have made it a mission that my career is all around career development, because I really believe that that is truly what we should be teaching our students, in particular during the examination years as they progress towards tertiary education. In 2011, I won the Best Science Tutor of the Year award. As I said earlier, I started my career teaching chemistry and biology. At A level, also taught psychology and all the sciences and maths at GCSE level. And it was great to receive the award from David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister at the time. And it was, just fantastic to be able to win this award. I also won the Welsh Women of the Year Award in Education, and also the Class Nobel Educator of Distinction Award, which is given by the Nobel family in 2015. I did a TEDx talk in 2016 regarding education reforms, in particular education reforms for not just in the UK, but also globally. And because I'm from Malaysia, I was also focusing on sort of Asian education reforms as well. Currently, I sit on many education think tanks, both in the UK as well as abroad, to help countries to look at government policies around education reforms. And I'm really enjoying that aspect of my job as well, which is fantastic to be able to contribute to the next wave of what education should look like. As I said, my greatest pride, alongside with the academic records, are also to do with university destination, in particular for international students, because the bar for international students is far higher than home students, as I have experienced myself, coming to the UK as an international student. So in terms of what I've achieved in the last 10 years, my team and I, we've sent around over 400 students to G5 universities. So G5 are Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, Imperial, and UCL. You may have heard the term Russell Group universities, but G5 is basically your equivalent to Ivy League Band 1 universities in the US. So G5 are these 5 very top prestigious universities. And we've also sent over 500 students to medical schools. Again, really proud of the fact that, these numbers, a majority of these numbers are international students. 100% of students who received offers to Russell Group universities in the UK, and 100% of success rate to Ivy League universities for those students who choose to apply to the US. We also have a system called the Global Strategic Pathway, where students not only apply to the UK or to the US, they actually look at applying to lots of universities around the world. For example, we also have students from South Korea who also apply to Korean universities, and we assist in that application. So we have this system where we are not just focusing on certain universities in the UK, but actually specializing in a more global, wider strategic pathway, because we believe that, there's always, it's always good to apply anyway, to go through an application process. But B, most importantly, is you just don't know where you're going to settle. I had a student who had offers from all UK universities, including G5, and she chose to go to University of Tokyo, because that's where she saw where she's going to live and where she's going to work and so on. So it's very important to map out not only getting to university, but beyond universities as well, as much as we can map out. Of course, plans do evolve. So that's the admissions records. And like I said, I'm really proud of the admission record, because the academic is one thing, but academic is not the passion. The passion is the course and the universities and that ambition and that drive. That's really what we are thriving for our students to learn, to be resilient, and to learn to really fight for an ambition. That's key. So that's in terms of the admissions record. And I just wanted to share with you some of our university destinations. So in 2021, 55% of our students achieved straight A's in all subjects in A level. And we had some of these top university destinations, students going to, as you can see, a wide range of universities, both in the UK and the US, and also abroad as well. So for example, there's been a lot of students for Hong Kong universities. We've had application to Singapore as well. So that was in 2021. So sorry, I'm just going to go back to and 2019 and 2020 university destinations. So 2019 and 2020 were the years that was not impacted by the effect or domino effect of the pandemic. So even in 2020, so although the lockdown occurred in March 2020, by the time the lockdown occurred, the applications were already well over the kind of the decision timeline. So it was really 2021 and 2022 that is now suffering from the domino effect of the pandemic. So in 2019 we had 100% medical school offers, 100% Russell Group, 75% of students received A star, AA or better. 60% of our students, or 60% of the acceptance rate into Cambridge, Imperial, LSE, UCL, and 25% to Cambridge. And again, can I just remind that these are all international student numbers, and it's very important to understand that there is a huge difference between international application and home application. In 2020, we had 50% success rate to Oxford, 32% to Oxbridge, 58% to G5 universities, 63% to LSE, and then as you can see, UCL and Imperial, both, UCL 85% non-medicine, Imperial 55% non-medicine. Impressively, UCL 24% medicine and Imperial 14% medicine. Now, why do we have this classification between non-medicine and medicine? Is purely because for medical courses, there is a 7.5% quota by the government. So there's a cap. So that makes it even more kind of challenging for medical students, because not only they have to compete with the wider population, but also they have to also meet they have to compete within the cap. So that's why we have this level of differentiation. Just because I think that's fair as well. Now, one of the things that we do when students come to us, we place them into 3 career groups. And it's very important to understand that these career groups actually encompasses lots of different careers and courses that they can do at university. So the first career group I'm sharing with you here is the social science, humanities, and commerce. So this is this career group is actually very wide, because there's so many different combinations of courses. The courses here are more theoretical rather than vocational. So again, students have to understand the difference at university is when you apply for a theoretical degree versus vocational degree, there are things, in terms of your strategy for those courses, it's very, very different. There are obviously lots of transferable skills as well, but they are different in that sense. So it's very important to understand that you have to have a strategy for each of your career groups, but also within your career group, there are also certain nuances as well. So just to share with you some of our students who have been successful getting into top universities for a wide range of courses. And also, if you can see, the other thing to note from this slide here is that students are doing different number of subjects. You've got students who are doing 4, 5. There are students who are taking EPQ, students who are not taking EPQ. We also have students applying for scholarship. As you can see, Pearl had the Prince Philip Scholarship to study law at Cambridge. So, there's a lot of differences in terms of individual strategy as well. And then there's also in terms of planning for things like scholarship applications as well. So just wanted to share with you the first career group, social science, humanities, and commerce. And then the third, the second career group to look at is the healthcare and biological science career group. So again, you can see within healthcare and biological science, you have courses like, of course, medicine, but there's also dentistry, veterinary medicine. There is the biomedical sciences, biochemistry. There's lots of ranges of healthcare and biological science courses. Again, the thing to note from here are that students are taking different number of subjects. You've got got Oliver here with 3 subjects and got into Cambridge for medicine, and you've got students with 4 or 5, and you've got students with EPQ or not with EPQ. And again, there are students applying scholarships as well. So there's very much an individual strategy, which is very important. To be personalized strategies, not one size fits all. So you have to, so just because, you know, sometimes as parents and as students, we tend to look at what other people are doing. As people in general, you know, we tend to look and see, oh, you know, so-and-so is doing this and I should be doing this. And actually, it should really be a personalized journey. As we can see, even from this slide, without knowing anything else about the students, you can already tell there is a lot of personalized journey going on here. And again, the other thing you could see is that students are applying to different universities around the world as well. Yeah, so that's in terms of healthcare and biological sciences. There is a trend, there is a huge trend at the moment of students wanting to apply for healthcare and biological science courses. For example, medicine, we have seen an increase of 22% in application. And, you know, I'm just talking to Suno just now about veterinary medicine. That's also becoming really sort of you know, increasingly both competitive, but also increase in student numbers applying for veterinary medicine. And then the third group is the physical science and mathematics group, and this encompasses courses like engineering, computer science, mathematics, and so on. And once again, you can see you know, the personalized journey here, because students are doing different number of subjects. You've got, you know, you've got students doing 3, 4, 5 with EPQ, without EPQ, and again, you can see that there are, you know, they are applying for scholarships. For example, we have Zenrong, who had the Jardine scholarship to study at Oxford for chemical engineering. So just to share with you the 3 career groups, and within the career groups, of course, there are nuances. Of course, there's going to be some differences because the courses may differ, but it's you know, what we do at our college is we place them into these 3 career groups, and then they would have a program set up for them, which then allows them to really, you know, prepare for those top university applications and competitive courses. So that's in terms of university admissions records that we've had since 2019 to 2021, and of course this year 2022, it's, you know, we're still collating, students are still going through interviews and so on. We've had a very successful year in terms of our Oxbridge offers so far, considering that, again, our numbers are international, and it's, you know, versus whenever you look at how many students have got into Oxbridge from any school, you should always look at the breakdown of international and home students, because it is twice as difficult for an international students getting into a competitive course compared to home students. Especially now, there's been a lot of shift for helping students who come, you know, the home students who come from underprivileged backgrounds as well. So I think for us, it's been really great to see that 13 of our students are actually, you know, getting into top universities, into Oxbridge for competitive courses, which has less than 10% acceptance rate, and plus all our students are international. So it is just amazing to see how we have, you know, beat the odds against international numbers, a less than 10% acceptance rate, and the pandemic effects as well. So, you know, beating all 3 odds, beating one odd is already difficult, but beating all 3 odds is just is crazy, basically. But it's fantastic to see that our students have been, you know, they have persevered, and we provided them the right strategy with the right insights, and I'm really pleased that we've achieved this. So COVID-19 has changed everything about university applications. So in order to understand what has happened, we need to look back from 2020 to see how this whole thing started. So in 2019, as I said, external standardized examinations, that's the last year of external standardized examinations. And in 2020, because of the lockdown, they cancelled the exams, and they basically went ahead with the center assessed grades. So the centers were supposed to allocate the grades for their students, and then there was an algorithm. The famous algorithm was supposed to adjust the grades to match with previous performance of the school. Unfortunately, the algorithm system did not work. And 13th of August, when the results came out, there was a huge cry for fairness because the algorithm, people felt that it just didn't work. So there was a lot of protests and so on. And the government then did a U-turn on the 17th of August. And suddenly, we then have a pandemic effect, a domino effect, which is now being, which is now carried on. So I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. And in 2021, we then moved away from center assessed grades to teacher assessed grades, the TAGs. But unfortunately, we then ended up with a very high grade inflation of almost 50% A-star to A. So that again contributed to the domino effect of the pandemic. I'm just going to put on this video of our student just to share with, this is our student who graduated last year, and to share what her experience has been as she's got into Cambridge with a scholarship as well. So it'll be interesting to see what she thinks, how her journey has been throughout this process.
I think especially with COVID, because everyone was really scared or like uncertain about what to do. During the announcement, and the rest of the team were very quick to reach out with what the government was saying, and the guidelines and the changes and exams and the stuff. And yeah, they were very quick to respond and adapt. And I think I really appreciate that because it gives you that certainty and it gives you that knowledge that
So that's the message from Pearl. Now going into what actually in terms of the statistics, so percentage of A-level, A-star to A grades across the UK. So this is where the problem started. 2019, we had 25.5% of all grades A-star to A grades. 2020, we had 38.5% of all grades. 2021, we had almost 50% of A-star to A grades. Now that itself changed the behavior of the universities in terms of the number of offers they're making or in terms of the acceptance rate. So the examinations The examinations in 2022 is going to be different. But before I go into the 2022 examinations, I just wanted to explain the whole concept of the results being affected from 2020 and 2021. So what happened in 2021? Because of the no exams and the algorithm, on 17th of August, when the universities realized that obviously the government did a U-turn at 4 o'clock, I still remember 4 o'clock, the government announced the U-turn, 1 minute past 4, the universities basically crashed, the top universities in particular, because universities normally make more offers than places. And the reason why they make more offers than places is because students either don't accept the offer, sorry, excuse me. They don't accept the offer because they can either choose to go to another university or they don't get the grades. And because of the government U-turn, the universities didn't have a choice but to take on all the students that they made offers to, and that is what created the whole effect. Sorry, Aaron, can you please carry on from here?
Yes, sure. Can people still see Yasmin's screen here? Yasmin, if you mute yourself, I'll just go through it. So essentially what happened was the domino effect. So when students were in fact getting those higher grades, it meant that universities had no choice but to accept these students. Some of these universities were oversubscribed. So unfortunately, because of grade inflation, it was very difficult for the top universities to know who the true A-star students were. And so that's why strategies such as the OIC supercurricular really influence those decisions. However, that being said, with such a huge number of A-star grades, some universities introduced oversubscription clauses. And that also meant that students were being forced to take a gap year, or they needed to be more strategic in their university application. And this created problems for those students trying to get into some of the most competitive courses.
Thanks, Aaron. Hello?
Hi, all good.
Hi. Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So that's basically the reason why we had to be a lot more strategic in terms of our strategy for getting into these top universities, because 2021 was the year when universities made less offer than they used to. So where in the past they would make ×2 to ×4 offers per place, in 2021 they became very conservative and they made only ×2 offers per place. And in 2022 they retained that kind of behavior, that change in terms of the number of offers they make. And also, for example, universities introduced the oversubscription clauses. So these things had a effect on the students' sort of, success rate. Also, admission test was also made really tough. Interviews were actually strengthened as well, because these were the two set of assessments that universities could use as to filter students, because obviously the academic results were something that was uncertain to the universities. So these are the reasons why, this is what we are now suffering from, the side effects. Also, although we are now in the UK coming out of the restrictions, we still have this barrier, A, because of this university's behavior shift in terms of the number of offers they make, and B, in terms of generally because of the level of difficulty that now the students are facing. For example, admission tests. Last year was the first year where students were saying that it was the admission tests were a lot more difficult than what all the practices that they've had in previous years. So we can see the shift, the behavior change patterns there. In 2022, this year, we are hoping that, well, we're not hoping, we know that exams will occur, but the exam boards will provide advanced information of the topics that will be covered. And the idea in 2022 will be that the grade boundaries will be set in between 2019 and 2021's record. So it'll be something in between, the midway point. So A-level grades will likely to still reduce by around 10% and GCSE by 4 points. And even with that, the students will still have to compete when they apply to universities, as we've seen this year. Now, next year, however, 2023, exams will revert to, the boundaries will revert to what it was pre-pandemic. So this is the last year when the exams are still going to be kind of like supported, but then next year we'll be going back. But the problem is, even though we're going back to that kind of before 2019, before 2020 systems, the admissions to top universities will remain in the way that they are currently in the current format. So for example, less offers per place, that will remain. Oversubscription clauses will remain. Admission test and interview being really weighted much higher than they used to, that will remain. So that's a side effect of the domino effect of the pandemic. And then obviously if exams don't occur this year, then we have the contingency plan again, which is the teacher assessed grades. But I don't think that will be the case. I think it's likely that that's not going to occur. So as I've been saying about the admission test, the process, this is where it's going to change. We are going to see less offers per place as we are seeing right now. We're going to see increased weighting and importance on admission tests, as we saw last year in October, November, for the admission tests like LNAT, BMAT, TMUA, and so on. Interview is going to be something really key, much higher weighting. And of course, there's also a shift from the universities to try to bridge the gap in inequality. So there's a lot of shift in terms of supporting home students who come from underprivileged backgrounds. So these are all the challenges that international students will have to bear in mind. Now, of course, for every problem, there's always a solution. So, the most important thing is whatever age you are, whatever year, whatever grade you're in, whatever year group you're in, don't wait for the changes to happen. Start now, start preparing now. Remember to plan for both your academic planning as well as your career planning. So it's no good just getting A grades in your school or getting the best in your school. You may know how to study, and that's great, but you also have to think about your strategy. It's all about supercurricular, and supercurricular comes into 3 ways. Number 1, discover your passion. You really need to know what you want. And sometimes what you want in terms of your career, your course, may actually not justify your ability. So for example, I had a student the other day who said, I want to do economics and management, but actually she doesn't really have an interest in economics and management. She feels she has an interest in that, but her real goal is actually to get into a top university. So if you have to measure what your passion is, whatever your passion is, whether your passion is the course or whether your passion is the university, whatever your passion is, you then, once you discover that, then the second stage is strategy. Or building, sorry, the second stage is building evidence for your passion. And then the third stage is the strategy. So it's really important discovering your passion, building evidence for your passion, and then having the right strategy. If you go through these three phases, and discovering your passion should start now, whatever year group you're in, you have to start, either discover what is the course you really want to study, what is the career that you want to have. Remember that course and career could be two different things. So if you go into a vocational degree like medicine, you're going to be a doctor, but if you go into an economics degree, it's, that's a theoretical degree, and that could be anything as a career. So really important to discover your passion. And then of course, strategy, super curricular, building the evidence for your passion are in the form of wider reading, voluntary work experience, admission test preparation, interview preparation, all the things that can help you to excel, to really thrive in your degree. So that's basically, you've got to start from now. You cannot wait until you're in year 12, because it's, if you're in year 10 right now and you're watching this, start now, don't wait. So in terms of, that's really how COVID-19 has changed everything about university applications. Now, I'm just going to show you how universities assess your applications. So how do they actually look at, what are they looking at? So in terms of assessing application, they are looking at some of the key things, for example, your GCSE or IGCSE equivalent. So if you've got GCSE or IGCSE, that's the first thing they'll look at, your academic qualifications pre-A level. And then if you don't have GCSEs or IGCSEs and you only have a school transcript, that's fine as well. If you are coming to like school like OIC, where we do take AS exams, then they'll look at your AS results. They will not wait to your AS results, because AS is a standalone qualification that doesn't contribute towards A level, but AS provides evidence for your prediction. So if you take an AS exam, that will provide evidence that you're on track to get certain grade in your A level. In particular, if you're predicting A stars, you have to remember that trust factor between universities and schools in general is not completely there, because obviously they have seen the center assessed grades with very high inflation of 50% of A star to A grades. So it's very important when students apply to university, even if you went to the #1 school in the UK like OIC, we still have to provide evidence for your prediction. Again, it all goes down to strategies. So AS results then contributes towards your predicted grades. And then of course your predicted grades have to match with the university's requirement. They also look at your personal statement, and then the two things that are really highly weighted now are admission tests and interview. So this is something to bear in mind. And if you look at the timeline, the pathway to university, so let's assume you're starting your course in September 2021 or January 2022, that's your year 12 entry. And then you will have your exams in June 2022 or May 2022. And then obviously you have your summer holidays, then you return in August, and then you start your year 13. And when you start your year 13 in October, if you're looking to apply to medicine, dentistry, veterinary, or Oxbridge, you'll be applying in October. The second deadline is January. But when you apply to universities in October, you will then have admission tests in November. Some admission tests are before October, before you apply, but majority of the admission tests are on November. You then are called for interviews from December onwards, depending on the university and the course. But I just want to highlight that students can get rejected after they apply in October. They can get rejected after they apply in November, or they can get rejected after they apply, after they go through the interview. So, so it's, so there are students with straight A's in their academic results, straight A stars. But if you don't do well in your application in October, you may not move on to the next stage with your admission test, or more likely to be not invited for your interview after your admission test. If you don't do well in your interview, then you don't get your offers from in between January to March is when universities will release decisions for universities. So it's very important to understand the timeline, and that students have to look at their strategies. So even if you're a straight A-star student and you have been straight A-star all your life, we have seen students who have not been straight A-star students, and then they really work on their strategy and they get through to top universities. The slides I was showing you earlier on with the 3 career groups, there are some students in those slides who have come with not your typical sort of top student profile. We have students who come with, say, not your straight A stars GCSEs, or the students who have not been top in their year. Compared to others, we also have students who have been top throughout their whole schooling education. But yet, because of not concentrating on the right strategies, the students who, if they really focus on their right strategies, they actually get through. There was a boy from Malaysia, Peldon. He wasn't, he wasn't a top student in his former school. He came to OIC, he applied to Trinity College, Cambridge, and he worked really hard with his strategy, building on his admission test, interview, and so on. He did very well in his admission test and interview, got into Trinity College to study computer science. He's now, I think, in 3rd year computer science at Cambridge. And it's just so pleasing to see how students who probably would not be supported in any other school because they're not the typical profile of top students, and yet they come to OIC, and because we give the platform to all our students, we don't have a system where only the very top of the students, top 1%, are supported in applying to top universities. All our students are champions, so they all deserve to apply to the top universities, and it's just fascinating, and it's fulfilling, very rewarding for us to see students who they perform so well despite the odds, so that, again, I mean, this year we have Jamas, one of our student Jamas, who got an offer from architecture, and his first year of AS wasn't great. He didn't do very well. He then went on to he did another year, and it's fantastic to see he's got an offer to study Cambridge for architecture. And I remember this is the young man who we were very concerned in the first year, and it's so rewarding to see how things have changed for him. And he, like I said, he wasn't a top student in OIC either, and yet he got into Cambridge for architecture. And that's all boils down to the right strategy, the right, having the willpower and the perseverance, and that's, I think it's exciting to see how students, not just the top students beating the odds, but also the students who probably would not be considered as a top profile student also beating the odds. So in terms of, as I said, critical path to success, 1 + 2 + 3. So 1 is university admission test, 2 university interview, 3 pre-offer matrix. So 1 + 2 + 3 gets you the offer. 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 gets you into university, because the offers that they will give you will be conditional upon your A-level results. So as we can see, the academic actually comes last. All the other strategies comes first to get the offer, and then you meet the conditions of your offer. So 1 + 2 + 3 gets you the offer. 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 gets you into university. So that's in terms of how universities assess your application, and what do you need to enter a top universities? Now, why should you go to a top universities in the first place? Now, of course, I think coming from an international background myself, it's no brainer in terms of why we want to go to top university, but I would like to just express to the students the reason why you want to go to top university has got nothing to do with the branding or the projected sort of, kind of lifestyle you're going to have in the future, because that's not in anyone's control, really. But the real reason why you should go to a top university is a lifestyle choice. So it's all down to how much you want to work and how much you want to study from that kind of process. So, you know, the skills that I learned having studied natural science at Cambridge, the skills I've learned has lasted me for a lifetime. And that is key. That is what you're going to gain from a top university. You will be amongst people who are like-minded individuals. You'll be taught by professors, leading researchers in their field. And it's just very fascinating to be around that kind of environment. It really exudes some sort of kind of energy that you wouldn't get, you know, anywhere else. So it's all to do with lifestyle choices. Of course, there are many options of universities, many options. Universities are there's so many universities now that offers a number of courses. The key thing here is that it's your time, it's your resource, it's your journey. So you have to decide what type of lifestyle choice do you want from this journey. And it's you know, this journey, it's, yes, of course, it will contribute towards your future careers and great jobs and so on, but you also need to be happy through this journey. So you really need to figure out first whether this is a lifestyle choice. You know, you may go to university that gives you one piece of work every term, whereas in these top universities, you may have one piece of work every other week. So you will have fun, but you also need to learn how to manage your time and, you know, and prioritize. And that is a skill that's going to last you for a lifetime. So that's something to just bear in mind. And as I said, just to repeat again, what do you need to enter a top universities? You obviously need to show commitment to your subject, excellent academic results in the right subjects, the admission test results, the personal statement, and the interviews. These things are what you need to enter a top universities. Now, in terms of OIC program, what we have to offer, I explained earlier on our curriculum strategic global pathways, where our students don't just apply to the UK. We have a personalized strategy to maximize admission chances to any university they're looking to apply to. We do not just focus on the UK. We do not believe in that. So our students apply to UK, US, Hong Kong, Singapore, any part of the world. We've just done applications to Ireland. We've had students applying to Australia. We have students applying to Canada. All our students have their own academic strategy tutor and a progress tutor. The progress tutor acts to make sure that they are what we call academic housekeeping, to make sure the students are all doing, you know, are on track to do what they need to be doing in terms of whether attendance or whether they work, or just checking on them to make sure they're okay. And then we have the academic strategy tutors who are really looking at their individual strategy, regardless of which universities they're applying to. And that is one of the key USP of our program. And A-levels, we offer 2-year A-level program, which is a September start, and we have an 18-month A-level program, which is a January start. And really, there are no compulsory subject at this stage. However, we do make sure that students are choosing subjects based on the career they wish to pursue or what subjects they are best at. Now, at the time of admissions, you may not know what career you wish to pursue, and that's why we will support you, even from the time of admissions, to really try to help you to choose the right subject, so that if you do change your mind, you then have the flexibility to do so. And GCSEs, we offer a 1-year GCSE program, although in the future we'll be looking to offer a 2-year GCSE program. And students do 8 subjects, up to 8 subjects. They do maths, English, and science. So even though it's a 1-year program, we do up to 8. Most schools in the UK do only 5 or 6, and the reason why we do 8 is because, you know, if you're applying to top universities, really having 8 subjects would help in terms of, you know, you're being competitive in your application. And again, there are optional subjects as well at GCSEs, and we will help students to make that choices. In terms of gaining the competitive edge for university and beyond, what are our, you know, success? I'm always asked by a lot of people, so what actually contributes to our success? And there are 3 pillars of success. There's the academic excellence. And of course, as I said, we've had excellent results, but we also have highly qualified teachers who are very passionate in what they do. We offer more hours per subject than other schools. And most importantly, we have a very unique educational pedagogical approach. And that is underpinned by 3 things. These are actually things that's already scientifically proven since the beginning of the 21st century. And these are active recall, spaced repetition, and retrieval learning. So we use these concepts in our teaching. So when we teach or we learn through active recall, and then we have the retrieval learning and spaced repetition through our weekly assessments, and we use the weekly assessments, the data from weekly assessments, to track and monitor students' performances. And these weekly assessments then allow our students who may start off with getting C and D grades and end up getting A's and A stars. You know, I had a student when he first started, he was hitting C's and D's. This is a student who would, you know, in any other school may not have been supported to apply to top universities. And yet this kid ended with, his name is Yusuf from Turkey, ended up getting A stars and A's and gone to Imperial to study engineering. And the career preparation at OIC, that's the second pillar, and the pillar that I really, for me, it's very important. If I would say the three pillars: academic excellence, career preparation, and personal development, all three pillars are equally important. But if I was to give a little bit more extra percentage on one of the pillar, I would say it's the career preparation. So the career preparation has 6 strands. Strand 1, beyond the syllabus. Strand 2, programs, awards, competitions. Strand 3, clubs and societies. Strand 4, further personal development. Strand 5 and 6 are basically strategies of applying to universities. So beyond the syllabus are things like doing work experience or doing wider reading and so on. Then you have programs and competitions, enrichment program competitions that students can take part in, like the Global Space Design Competition, which is held at Imperial and at NASA. Clubs and societies, so these are split into 3 categories: fun clubs, skills clubs, and academic clubs. And then you got further personal development, so courses like philosophy enrichment classes, government and politics enrichment classes, computational thinking. All these things really add to your application. And then the 5th and the 6th are the university strategies. Personal development, it's all about the extracurricular to make sure that our students have somewhat a work-life balance so they can de-stress as well. And again, it's split into 3 different categories. So you've got fun clubs, like, you know, we have a glee club, we have sports clubs, we have arts club, we have music clubs, we have a cup stacking club, which I didn't know until I was reading somebody's personal statement the other day. We have like around 30+ clubs now in the college, mostly student-led, because we really believe in leadership and entrepreneurship. So the mostly is student-led. And then we've got things like more of an academic club, like chemistry club, biology club, and so on. And we have then skills club, like debating, Model United Nations. So those are kind of the skills club there. Photography club is a skills club. So that's in terms of personal development. And now I'm just going to share with you some examples of university admission tests so you can see the level of work that you've got to embrace when you're applying to universities. So if you look at the relevant admission tests, TSA, LNET, NSA, sorry, excuse me, ANGA, ECA, MAT, STEP, BMAT, UCAT, CLT. This list is obviously not exhaustive. And what we'll see over the next 2 years is more and more students, there will be more admission tests that will be added on, or there will be more universities subscribing to admissions tests. For example, LNET is now subscribed by 25 universities. You know, BMAT is not just subscribed by UK universities. We also see universities in Thailand, in Malaysia, in other parts of the world, Singapore, subscribing to these admission tests. We saw TMUA subscribed by at least 8 or 10 universities. So, you know, we are seeing more and more universities subscribing to these admission tests, which were originally only for Oxford and Cambridge, but now we are seeing a lot of universities subscribing. So we can see the pattern is shifting to self-assessing, self-regulating by the universities, rather than just concentrating on the academic results. And that is a major shift in terms of the university's way of selecting students. So in terms of outcome, this is an outcome example. So for example, for mathematics, philosophy, mathematics and statistics, we can see from this graph, this bar chart, that students who had above 70% are more likely to be given an offer. Of course, you can see that there are some students at 40% also being given an offer, but that really applies, again, mostly to home students as opposed to internationals. For an international student to be on the safe side, you need to be aiming above 70% to receive an offer. But as you can see, even above 70%, you still need to do well in your interview to get an offer. So just because you hit the mark above 70%, you still have the barrier of the interview as well. But I have to say, from my experience, students who do well in the admission test, like we had a student in the MAT exam, he had a 9, which is the highest score you can get. And he got an offer for mathematics at Oxford, because the students who do well in admission tests are very likely to also do well in the interview. And that's really the trend has been for the last 3-4 years. So the admission test is key. If you do well in admissions tests, very likely that you will also prepare you do well in your interview as well. So just some examples of the admission test. Just to share with you some stuff. So if you look at a clock and the time is 9:45, what is the angle between the hour and the minute hands? So these questions that have been they're showing to you now, these are basically just random questions that we have chosen from a mix of admission test questions. And these are kind of what I would call level 1 questions. And obviously the level gets more difficult. Also to bear in mind that this is just to share with you that these are not things that you will learn in your textbook. So you really need to have that higher order thinking skills to be able to tackle these questions. So the answer to this is D. If you didn't get a chance to do it, don't worry. This is just, again, to just share some awareness. So again, this one, 2 neighbors work for the same company and share the journey to work, driving alternately in strict rotation. They work Monday to Friday each week, and every other Saturday. They always work the same Saturdays as each other. What is the maximum number of days either of them has to drive in a calendar month? Again, not something you will see in the textbook. Very much quantitative reasoning questions, but as I said earlier on, these are level 1 questions. The level of difficulties do increase. Also, you have multiple choice questions, you have open-ended questions, and you will have essays as well. So it's not just at all MCQ. So I think that just gives you an idea. This is one of the questions that I wrote. Whenever my friend Alistair writes to me, he does so entirely in code. He always uses symbols for letters, but changes the code every time. So any particular symbol does not necessarily stand for the same letter of the alphabet on the next occasion he writes. I always start to crack the code by looking at how he has written his name at the end of his email. For instance, last time he was this. In my last email to him, I asked him when he intends to visit me next. Today I received a reply consisting of just one word as follows: what can we assume that he intends to appear? So that, just again, to just give you some awareness. Also, time is always of a pressure as well. So this is like, to answer these questions is below 1 minute, below 60 seconds, really. It's around 50 seconds, 45 to 50 seconds to answer each question. So again, there's a time pressure as well. So yeah, I mean, that's just to give you some context in terms of the kind of questions that they could ask you. I'm just going to go straight to also interview questions, just to share with you some interview questions as well. So you could get something like this at natural science, where you could be asked to summarize the graph. What defines a mammal? What do the deviations from the line show? Can brain size relative to body size tell us anything about intelligence? Are there any flaws in the study? What body weight does the dog have? So again, when you look at these kind of questions, it is not in your textbook. This is certainly not taught in biology, but they do give you these questions, and then you are supposed to derive that information. And an interview is more like an engagement, but it's an engagement on substance. So really, they want to know whether you have that, whether you're able to extrapolate information and you have that knowledge. And these things come from a lot of wider reading, or it comes from an element of work experience combined with wider reading, but also in terms of reflection. One of the things that students, because I sit on interview panels, I find that students are very lacking in reflection. So you really need to, every time you read a book, write a blog about what you've read, analyze and evaluate and reflect. What did you do? What did you learn from it? And what are your further actions as well? So there's another question here, like history. They could give you this map. Now, of course, this is a very old map. What do you find interesting about it? When do you think the map was made? Where is it from? What is it showing? What message does it communicate? What does the name of the map suggest? How could this be relevant today? Again, it doesn't give you, this is not something you will find in a history textbook. So it really requires you to think, and thinking comes with a lot of exposure in the super curricular section that I was talking about earlier on to be able to tackle these questions. So that's really it in terms of how you can help yourself, or how you can help your children, or how you can help students in strategizing the university application to post-COVID. At OIC, we obviously we are working very hard to ensure that our students have that insight, and we're very fortunate that I have the foresight in terms of what the strategies should be in place for each of our students, and placing those strategies to help our students to achieve what they need to in order to get into these top universities. So if you're looking to apply to OIC, but please by all means do so, even if you think, because it is a small college and it is competitive for entry, but even if you think you're not quite there yet, as I said, I have students who in any other institution they may not have been supported to get into those top universities, and it's great that at our college everyone's given that equal opportunity and platform to succeed. And if you feel OIC is not kind of right for you either, then we do have a lot of courses, or if you don't get an offer from OIC, we do a lot of courses for external students as well. So for example, we have a wide range of summer school programs that we do for external students. We also run university consulting as well for our external students as well. So it's OIC, it's a one-stop center really to help you, whether you're an internal student or whether you're an external student. We're really here to help you, mainly to discover your passion, build the evidence for your passion, and then work on your individual strategy. So I hope today has given you some indication in terms of what are the challenges facing international students and how you can deal with those challenges as well. If there's anything you can take from today's talk, I hope it is start now. Don't wait until you apply to university. It is too late by then. So thank you very much, and apologies for my cough, but thank you very much. Thank you, Suno.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so no questions, so far. So I have a couple of questions about, so OIC. So how is the school like in this Corona pandemic? So do you provide online, or so how is working?
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of OIC, since 2020, or since the lockdown, since we came back, we've had zero transmission of COVID cases. So that's because we are very fortunate that we have all the right measures in the college. For example, we can, even though the government guidance now, as of now, is that they don't need to use mask, we continue to use mask. All our staff, all our students use mask. So that's a really good, I think culturally, we have been very good in terms of maintaining that safety and those measures. In terms of online, yes, of course, we have been doing online when it needed. Now we don't need to do online, so all the students are back in person. Students who are, because they are delayed, because they went home during Christmas and they came back and they're in quarantine or so on, then they are obviously studying online. But our aim is to go back, all our kids to have in-person lessons. But we were very fortunate. We've had zero transmission of cases. So, and that's because the culture at OIC is very good.
Okay. 지금까지 좀 잘 들으셨는지 모르겠습니다. 지금 한 시간이 거의 다 꽉 차서 지금 좀 마무리할 건데, 지금 그 질문이 계신 분들은 챗박스에 질문 좀 남겨주시면 될 것 같고요. 제가 야스민하고 굉장히 좀 오랫동안 일을 좀 해왔거든요. 하지만 이제 야스민이 좀 다른 학교하고 좀 차이점은 사실 뭔가 결과를 만들어준다는 거죠. 옥스퍼드 캠브리지 가고 싶다, 뭐 의대를 가고 싶다라고 하면 그 결과에 가장 좀 든든하게 만들어주신 분이라고 생각을 하시면 될 것 같아요. 단지 여기 들어보셨겠지만 단지 A레벨 성적을 가지고 대학을 가는 게 아니거든요. 여러 가지 뭐 전공에 대한 열정이라든지 그리고 자기의 그리고 그에 따른 전략이라든지 그리고 여러 가지 인터뷰 준비라든지 그리고 자기소개서 이런 부분들까지 다 커버를 하고 있는 이런 학교라고 보시면 될 것 같아요. 그리고 저희 학생들이 그 OIC를 다니고 있지 않더라도 예를 들면 내가 의대를 간다라고 하더라도 지금 OIC 통해서 온라인이라든지 이렇게 계속 톱 선생님이라든지 전문가들의 서포트를 받고 있거든요. 그래서 이 영상을 보시는 분이고 OIC를 직접 가지 못한다 하더라도 이런 서포트를 좀 받을 수 있는 기회를 좀 주고 있으니까 언제든지 저한테 연락을 해주시면 연결해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 실제로 다른 학교 다니고 있으면서 OIC 서포트 받는 학생이 있고요. 실제로 야스민 서포트를 받는 학생들이 있고요. 이런 상황이니까요. 이렇게 이해를 하시면 될 것 같습니다. Okay, Yasmin, so I don't think we have questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Suno, if there are any questions later on, I'm more than happy to answer the questions. And maybe in the future, Suno, we could do something where we could do like a mock interview or something, a more interactive kind of session where I could do an interview preparation, just so you can see the feel of what is going to be like being tested and what, you know, at interview now compared to what it was before, because I have been doing a lot of interview panel. I've been on lots of interview panels, and I've been seeing how the changes in terms of the type of questions they're asking at interviews now. So it'll be good to do a session on that. But yeah, any questions, by all means, just ask, just send me an email or something, and more than happy to help. But I wish all the students and the parents all the best of luck.
Yeah, I'm so pleased actually. So you are available today. So okay. I hope you take care of yourself. And then, Vivian, and then Aaron. So thank you so much for arranging this. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So next week, we have a New Year's Day. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Happy New
Thank you.
Year. Bye.
Happy New Year. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.